My ex always knew where I was. That's the simplest way to say it. And for a long time it was the only way I could say it, because everything else sounded paranoid even to me. We'd broken up in the spring. It hadn't been dramatic, no single terrible event, just a slow accumulation of him needing to know things. Where I'd been, who I'd been with, why it had taken me 40 minutes to drive home when it usually took 25. At the time, I'd told myself it was care, a bit too much of it. Looking back, it was never care, it was inventory. After we split, he moved out, gave back the key, and for a few weeks it was quiet. Then the coincidences started. I'd go to a cafe across town, somewhere I'd never been, chosen at random, and he'd message me an hour later asking how the coffee was. I'd tell a friend I was going to a particular shopping center and he'd happen to be there. I changed my routine, took different routes, stopped posting anything anywhere. I'd already deleted him from everything, and still, somehow, he knew. Not always. Just often enough that I started to feel watched in a way I couldn't prove. I told my sister and she said the obvious thing, check your phone, so I did. I went through it carefully. No tracking apps, no location sharing left on, no shared accounts. I changed every password. I turned off location services for everything. And for about a week it seemed to help. And then he mentioned, in a message I hadn't answered, that he hoped my dentist appointment had gone okay. I had not told anyone about the dentist. I had driven there, alone, said nothing to anyone, and he knew. I need to describe what that does to you, because the fear isn't the loud kind. It's quieter and more corrosive than that. You start narrating your own day to an audience you can't see. You take a longer route home and feel watched the entire way. You sit in a car park for 10 minutes before going in somewhere, for no reason you could explain, just to break the pattern. You stop trusting your own sense of being alone, which is a thing most people never have to think about and never appreciate having. I'd catch myself glancing at the rear-view mirror at red lights, not looking for a car, looking for a feeling. I lost weight. I slept badly. And underneath all of it ran the same humiliating thought on a loop. Or maybe you're imagining this. Maybe you finally lost it. Maybe it's all coincidence and you're the problem now. That doubt, I understand now, was not a flaw in me. It was the whole design. The watching only works if the person being watched can be convinced they're inventing it. That was when I stopped thinking about my phone and started thinking about my car. I didn't know what I was looking for. I looked anyway. I went out one evening with a torch and I searched the car the way you search for something when you don't actually believe you'll find it. The glove box, under the seats, the boot, the door pockets. Nothing. I was about to give up, feeling slightly ridiculous when I ran my hand into the wheel arch at the back and my fingers touched something that didn't belong. Something held on with magnet and tape. It was small. A little plastic box, black, no markings. Inside, when I prized it open later at the kitchen table with gloves on like someone in a film, was a circuit board, a SIM card, and a battery. A GPS tracker. The kind you can buy openly online for the price of a nice dinner. It had been wired with a small magnet to stick to the metal, tucked up out of sight, where it could sit for weeks reporting my location to whoever had the app. I should have felt vindicated. Mostly, I felt sick, because finding it meant I hadn't been imagining any of it, and the not imagining was worse than the doubt had been. I took it to the police the next morning, and the case eventually reached a detective named Reyes, who I gather has heard a great many stories like mine, and somehow still listens to each one as though it's the first. She looked at the tracker, photographed it, and told me something I hadn't considered. These devices, she said, are easy to find once you know to look, and people like my ex often know that. so the smart ones don't rely on just the one. She asked if I'd had the car serviced or kept it anywhere he'd had access to before we broke up. I had. We'd shared the car, briefly, while his was being repaired. He'd had it for the better part of a week. She arranged for the car to be looked at properly, not a torch and glove box search, an actual one, by someone who knew where to look. They found the second device within 20 minutes. It wasn't a magnet and tape box in a wheel arch. It was wired into the car's own electrical system, tucked up behind the dashboard, drawing power from the vehicle itself so it never needed a battery and never went quiet. The one I'd found in the wheel arch, the easy one, the obvious one, had been almost a decoy. Something that, if I ever got suspicious and searched, I'd find and remove and feel I'd solved it. The real one was hardwired in, patient and silent, and would have kept going for as long as I owned the car. I think about that a lot. The two trackers. One to be found, one to keep working after the first was found. The assumption built into that I would eventually look, that I'd be reassured when I found something, that my relief would make me stop looking. He had planned not just to track me, but to track me through the moment I thought I'd escaped it. Modern cars, Reyes explained, are part of the problem now too. A lot of them come with their own connected apps. Start the engine, unlock the doors, see the location, all from a phone. If you've ever shared a car with someone or bought one secondhand, that app might still be tied to an account that isn't only yours. She had me check mine. The manufacturer's app had a second authorized user I'd never removed, from back when we'd shared it. He'd been able to see the car's location through the official app the whole time, on top of the two physical trackers. 3 ways of watching, layered, in case any one of them failed. I keep coming back to that word she used. Layered. Not one obsessive act done in a panic, but a system. Built calmly over the week he'd had the car, each piece chosen to cover the failure of another. The cheap magnetic tracker for me to find. The hardwired one for when I found it. The app login for if I found both. He hadn't just wanted to know where I was. He'd thought, in advance and without heat, about every way I might try to stop him, and he'd planned past each one. That's not jealousy. Jealousy is hot and stupid and leaves a mess. This was patient. This had a budget and a sequence. Reyes told me, gently, that the patient ones are the ones she worries about. The shouting and the broken phone are frightening, she said, but they're legible. You can see them, name them, get an order against them. The man who quietly installs 3 redundant tracking systems and then asks how your coffee was is harder to make anyone take seriously, right up until the moment he becomes impossible to stop. The trackers gave the police something physical to work with, and the manufacturer's app login gave them a record. And for once, a case like this didn't just dissolve into warnings. I won't go into the legal end of it except to say it's being dealt with properly, and that I'm all right. I want to say that clearly because these stories don't always end with the person being all right, and I know how much it matters to hear that one did. But I didn't get here by being clever. I got here because I happened to run my hand into a wheel arch on the one evening I decided to look. If I hadn't, I'd still be driving around believing I was unforgivably paranoid, while 3 separate systems quietly reported every place I went to a man I'd asked to leave. So here's what I'd ask you to actually do, if any of this sounds even slightly familiar. If someone always seems to know where you are, believe yourself. Before you check your phone, before anything, believe the pattern you're noticing. The doubt is the thing that keeps these setups working. They survive on you deciding you're imagining it. Then, check properly. Your phone, yes. Location sharing, your account's list of devices, any app you don't recognize. But also the car, not a glance. A real search, wheel arches, and under the seats in the boot. And if you find something, do not assume it's the only one. Have it looked at by someone who knows where the wired-in ones hide. And if you've ever shared a vehicle or bought one used, open the manufacturer's app and remove every authorized user who isn't you. I found one tracker and felt relief. The relief was the trap. There was always going to be a second one. Assume there's a second one. That single thought is the thing I wish someone had given me a year earlier, so I'm giving it to you now.